The city of Nexora never slept. It was a world of glowing towers, flying drones, and endless noise. But beneath the shining skyline there was another world, a world of shadows, broken robots, and forgotten lives. The scrap dump. Ethan walked through the rusted piles of metal, his boots crunching on glass and plastic. The smell of burnt oil and dust filled the air. He came here often, searching for parts to sell. As an ex-engineer, he knew how to find value in what others threw away. But this night was different. He heard a sound. A faint, trembling cry. He stopped. His flashlight moved across the twisted piles until it landed on something small, something that moved. At first he thought it was a malfunctioning droid, but then he saw eyes, big silver eyes that shimmered like liquid metal. A girl, thin, trembling, covered in grime and wires. Her skin was pale blue, her arms scarred with strange symbols that glowed faintly under the light. Ethan froze. "You're not human," he whispered. The girl flinched, backing away, clutching a piece of metal like a knife. Her voice cracked when she spoke. "Don't hurt me." He lowered his hands slowly. "I won't, I promise." For a long moment they just stared at each other, the man from the city and the alien girl from the trash. Then Ethan saw something that made his chest tighten. Her leg was badly burned, the wound wrapped in dirty cloth. He sighed. "You'll die out here." She didn't answer, only looked at him with eyes that were more frightened than angry. He took off his jacket and held it out. "Come on, let's get you warm." She hesitated, but then slowly she reached out her small hand. The journey back was silent. The girl sat in the back of Ethan's hover truck, wrapped in his old jacket. Through the cracked window, neon lights painted her face in color. Her eyes darted at every sound, every shadow. She looked like a creature who had never known safety. When they reached his workshop, Ethan helped her inside. The place was messy, tables filled with tools, cables, and broken robots. He turned on a heater and handed her water. "Name?" he asked softly. She stared at the floor. "They called me Unit 17. Ethan frowned. "That's not a name." "I don't have one," he smiled gently. "Then we'll fix that too." He began cleaning her wound. She hissed in pain but didn't pull away. As he wrapped her leg, he noticed something strange under her skin. Tiny lights pulsing like circuits. He had heard rumors of biosynthetics, living beings created through forbidden science, but seeing one alive was different. "You're part machine," he said quietly. She looked away. "They made me, then threw me away." His chest tightened. The words hit him harder than he expected. Thrown away, like all the broken machines he found every day. Hours passed. She fell asleep on his couch, her hands clutching the edge of a blanket. Ethan sat nearby, watching the faint blue glow from her arms light the room like soft moonlight. He couldn't stop thinking. Who made her? Why was she abandoned? If the authorities found out, they'd take her apart for research. The galactic law forbade human contact with engineered species. Even helping her could mean prison or worse. He looked at her again. She seemed so small, so alive. He whispered, "Don't worry, I won't let them find you." For the first time in years, Ethan felt something stirring inside, a reason to care again. He had lost everything once, his family, his job, his hope. But tonight, in this broken city, he had found something unexpected, a life worth protecting. In the middle of the night, the girl woke up screaming. Her body trembled violently, her skin flickering with strange blue light. Ethan rushed to her side. "Hey, you're okay. You're safe." She grabbed his hand, her voice shaking. "They're coming." "They can feel me." Ethan froze. "Who?" "The ones who made me," she whispered. "They'll come for me." "They always do." The light from her arms began to spread, filling the room with a sharp electric glow. Machines around them flickered. Ethan could feel static in the air and then silence. The lights went out. He stared at her, his heart pounding. In that darkness, only her silver eyes shone back at him. "Please," she said, "don't leave me." He swallowed hard. "I'm not going anywhere." Outside, far above the city, a silent drone hovered. Its sensors focused on one small workshop. A red light blinked. Target detected. Inside, Ethan had no idea that by saving her, he had just started a war he could never imagine. Ethan barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the glow under her skin. Those silver eyes filled with fear, and the words she whispered, "They're coming." When morning light entered through the workshop windows, the city outside was still waking up. Drones buzzed overhead. The smell of metal and smog filled the air. But inside there was quiet. The girl, no, the alien teen, was sitting near the heater, her knees pulled to her chest, watching a tiny repair bot crawl on the floor. Ethan handed her a cup of warm synth milk. "Drink this," he said softly. "It'll help." She took it carefully, like she wasn't sure it was real. "Why are you helping me?" she asked after a moment. He looked at her. "Because someone has to." She blinked, confused. "Humans don't help my kind." Ethan gave a small smile. "Then maybe I'm not like the others." She studied his face as if trying to understand his mind. "You'll get in trouble," she whispered. "The galactic law." "I don't care about their law," he interrupted. "You're hurt. That's all that matters." For the first time, a small, shy smile appeared on her face. "You're strange, human," he chuckled. "I've heard that before." While she rested, Ethan checked the scanners around his workshop. A faint signal had appeared on the radar, something unusual. A hovering object had paused above his zone during the night, then vanished. He frowned. That can't be good. He opened his encrypted comlink. "Run diagnostic sweep," he ordered the AI system. "Warning," the robotic voice replied. "Unidentified drone activity detected within 1 kilometer radius. Possible surveillance pattern." Ethan's chest tightened. So it's true. Someone's already looking for her. He turned back toward the girl. She was examining one of his tools, fascinated by the way it sparked. He noticed how her eyes followed every movement, how her fingers moved like she could feel the energy inside the machines. "What's your name?" he asked again. "I told you," she said softly. "Unit 17. "No," he said firmly. "That's what they called you. But I'm asking what you want to be called." She went quiet. Then after a long pause, she said, "Lyra. My name is Lyra." Ethan smiled. "Lyra. That's a good name." That same afternoon, he took her to the back of the workshop. He had a hidden compartment underground, a small shelter he built long ago during the city riots. "You'll stay here if I'm not around," he told her. "It's safe." Lyra looked around the small space, metal walls, shelves of food capsules, a soft mat in the corner. "You planned for war," she said quietly. He nodded. "I planned for the world to fail me, and it did." She looked up at him, eyes filled with quiet sadness. "You've lost someone," he froze. "How do you know that?" She pointed at his arm, an old burn scar that ran from wrist to elbow. "Pain leaves marks," she said. "I can see them," he didn't answer. Instead, he turned away. "Get some rest," he muttered. "We might not have much time." That night, the city sky turned red. Ethan heard it first. The distant hum of engines like thunder rolling over steel clouds. He stepped outside, scanning the horizon. 3 black ships were descending slowly, marked with the insignia of the Dominion Bureau of Genetic Control. His blood ran cold. They found her. He ran back inside. "Lyra, we have to go!" She stood up, alarmed. "They're here?" "Yes," he said, grabbing his plasma pistol from the wall. "They must have traced your signal." "Can you move?" She nodded, her eyes glowing faintly. "I can hide my energy. For a short time." "Do it." She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. The blue light under her skin dimmed, fading until she looked almost human. Her arms trembled with the effort. Ethan opened the back exit. "This way!" They slipped through the shadows behind the workshop. The night air was sharp, the sound of drones echoing in the distance. Suddenly, a spotlight cut through the fog, a search beam sweeping the alley. "Down!" Ethan hissed. They dropped behind a stack of crates just as the beam passed overhead. Voices followed. Metallic. Cold. "Target identified within the sector. Proceed with scan." Ethan gritted his teeth. "We're not fast enough," he whispered. "They'll find us." Lyra turned to him, her voice trembling but determined. "I can make a decoy." "What do you mean?" "I can release an energy burst. It will confuse their scanners. That could expose you." She met his eyes. "If I don't, they'll kill you." Before he could stop her, she stood up, raising her hands. A soft hum filled the air. Then a blinding flash of blue light spread across the alley. Drones screamed as their sensors overloaded. The Dominion soldiers shouted commands, firing blindly. "Lyra!" Ethan grabbed her, pulling her back into the shadows as explosions lit up the street. Her body was weak, trembling. "Did it work?" she whispered. He nodded, helping her stand. "You bought us a few minutes. Come on." They ran through the lower tunnels, the old subway lines where no one dared to go. The walls were cracked, dripping with moisture. Rats scurried away as they passed. Lyra stumbled and Ethan caught her before she fell. "You're burning up," he said. "I used too much power." "Just hold on," he said firmly. "We're almost there." They finally reached an old maintenance room deep underground. Ethan sealed the door and turned on a single light. Lyra was pale, her eyes dimming. "Rest," he whispered.
You did good.
She looked up weakly. "Ethan, why are you doing this? You could have left me." He looked at her, his voice low. "Because I've already lost enough people. I'm not losing you too." Her lips curved into a faint smile before she fell asleep in his arms. Outside, the Dominion forces scanned the area, their commander frowning. The signal vanished again. "She's good at hiding." A soldier replied, "Shall we retreat, sir?" "No," the commander growled. "We'll find her. That biosynthetic belongs to us." He turned his gaze toward the city map, zooming in on one name, Ethan Ward. "Let's see how long a human can hide a weapon of war." The underground shelter was silent. Only the faint hum of old machinery filled the air. Ethan sat beside Lyra, watching her chest rise and fall. She was still weak, her blue skin dim, the lights beneath her veins flickering like fading stars. He brushed a strand of silver hair from her face. "You pushed yourself too far," he whispered. "What were you thinking?" Her eyelids fluttered. "I had to protect you." Ethan sighed. "I'm supposed to be the one protecting you." She smiled faintly, her voice soft. "You can't protect me from what's inside me." That made Ethan pause. "What do you mean?" he asked. Lyra's eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly in the dim light. "I wasn't just made to live. I was made to destroy." Ethan froze. "Destroy?" She nodded weakly. "I was part of a secret program. They called it Project Eve. The Dominion wanted to build soldiers, part machine, part life. We were born in labs, not in homes. They gave us no names, only numbers." Her voice trembled. "They filled us with codes, memories, commands. We were weapons that could feel pain but not peace." Ethan clenched his fists. "And when they were done, they tested us," she said bitterly. "Some failed. Some fought back. I ran, but they tracked me. I thought I'd die in the scrapyard." Ethan looked down, his jaw tight. "And I found you instead." "Yes," she whispered. "You changed everything." For a long moment, Ethan didn't speak. He remembered the Dominion's cruelty, their experiments, their control over every aspect of life. He had once worked for them years ago designing drones, until he learned what those drones were used for, to hunt people like her. He got up pacing. "They won't stop. They'll send everything they have." "I know," she said softly. "That's why you should leave me." He turned sharply. "Not a chance." "You don't understand," she said, her eyes glowing brighter. "If they capture me, they'll use me to destroy cities. They'll erase your entire species. Humans will fall and I'll be their weapon." Ethan stepped closer, his tone firm. "Then we'll stop them before that happens." Lyra stared at him, disbelief in her eyes. "Why do you care so much?" He looked away for a moment, his voice low. "Because I once built machines that killed innocent people. I've been running from my past ever since, maybe. Helping you is how I make it right." For the first time, her expression softened. "Then maybe," she said, "we both deserve a second chance." Hours passed. Ethan connected his tools to a small console, analyzing the strange energy inside Lyra's body. The readings made no sense. Massive power levels, shifting frequencies, something alive and artificial at once. "This isn't just a reactor," he muttered. "It's growing." Lyra looked at him nervously. "What does it mean?" He studied the screen. "It means whatever they built inside you, it's learning, adapting." She touched her chest gently. "It hurts sometimes, like something inside me is trying to wake up." Ethan frowned. "If it wakes, what happens?" She hesitated. "The world burns." The words hung in the air like poison. Suddenly, a loud static sound echoed through the shelter. Ethan turned to the old communicator. It crackled, then a distorted voice spoke. "Ethan Ward, you have something that belongs to the Dominion. Surrender the asset and your life will be spared." Ethan's blood ran cold. "They found us again." Lyra grabbed his arm. "We can't run forever." He stared at her, determination in his eyes. "Then we fight." They moved quickly. Ethan opened a storage case and pulled out old gear. Armor plates, plasma grenades, EMP charges. I kept these for emergencies, he said. Guess today counts. Lyra stood beside him, her body trembling. I can help. You're too weak, she shook her head. I can still use my energy, just enough to shield us. Ethan loaded his blaster. Then we make our stand here. He placed motion sensors around the tunnels. The sound of approaching footsteps echoed, metallic, heavy. The Dominion troops were coming. He looked at Lyra. Stay behind me. The first drone appeared, red eyes glowing. Ethan fired and the tunnel lit with blue flashes. Sparks flew as the drone exploded, but more followed. 6, then 10, marching like machines of death. Lyra raised her hands. Blue energy rippled around them, forming a shimmering shield. Bullets hit it and bounced off, scattering light across the walls. Ethan shouted, "Hold it steady!" Her voice shook. "I'm trying." The energy flickered, her body straining. Ethan took down another drone, his breath quick. Come on, come on." Then one of the Dominion soldiers appeared. Tall, armored, carrying a plasma rifle. His voice boomed. "Surrender the weapon, human." "You can't save her," Ethan glared. "She's not a weapon," the soldier laughed. "She's a bomb in disguise," Lyra gasped. "He's right. If they trigger me..." Ethan fired before she could finish, hitting the soldier square in the chest. "They won't touch you. Not while I'm alive." The tunnel shook with explosions. Smoke and sparks filled the air. Ethan dragged Lyra deeper underground, both coughing and covered in dust. They reached an old freight elevator, half broken but still functional. "Upstairs," he said. "Go," she hesitated. "What about you?" "I'll hold them off," her eyes widened. "No, Ethan," he smiled weakly. "I've made enough mistakes in my life." "Don't make this one yours, go." Tears shimmered in her silver eyes. "You'll die." "Maybe," he said softly. "But not for nothing." He turned back toward the tunnel, raising his blaster. The Dominion forces stormed in. The sound of gunfire echoed as Lyra screamed his name, her power suddenly bursting from her body like lightning. A surge of energy rushed through the air, bright enough to blind. The tunnel walls shook and the soldiers were thrown back like leaves in a storm. When the light faded, Ethan was still standing, but barely. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted, her body flickering like a fading flame. He ran to her, catching her before she collapsed. "You saved me again," he whispered. She looked up weakly. "No, we saved each other." Outside, the Dominion commander watched the explosion on his screen. He smiled coldly. "Impressive," he said. "The prototype is stronger than expected. Prepare Phase 2. His second officer asked, "What's Phase 2, sir?" The commander looked at the image of Ethan holding Lyra in his arms. "Turn the human into the key. He doesn't know it yet, but his DNA is the only one that can unlock her final form." Ethan woke to the sound of thunder. At first he thought it was the storm above the city, but no. It was the sound of war machines moving through the streets again. He sat up quickly, his body aching from the fight the night before. The underground shelter smelled of smoke and oil. Lyra was still asleep beside him, her blue skin faintly glowing in the dark. She looked peaceful, almost human, but Ethan knew the peace wouldn't last. The Dominion never stopped. He ran a hand through his messy hair, his thoughts racing. They knew his name. They knew where to find him. That meant one thing. Someone had told them. He opened his old console and connected to a hidden network. Static filled the screen before a voice answered. "Ethan Ward, I hoped I'd never hear from you again." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Hello, Dr. Kale." Dr. Kale had once been Ethan's mentor, a scientist working for the Dominion's bioengineering division. The man who taught him everything about machines, genetics, and hybrid systems. The man Ethan once admired, until he discovered the truth behind their work. "I need answers," Ethan said. "You created Project Eve, didn't you?" Kale's face appeared on the screen, older now but still cold and sharp. "You shouldn't have gotten involved, Ethan. That girl is dangerous." "Her name is Lyra," Ethan snapped. "And she's not dangerous. She's scared," Kale sighed. "You still believe in feelings even after all this time. That's what makes you weak." Ethan leaned closer. "Tell me the truth. Why are they after her?" Kale hesitated, then said quietly, "Because she's the key. She wasn't just built to destroy. She was built to evolve." "Evolve into what?" Kale's eyes glowed faintly on the screen. "Something that can't die." Ethan froze. "What are you saying?" Kale continued, his voice calm but chilling. "Every biosynthetic we made had a human base code. Their neural patterns came from real human DNA, but Lyra, she was different. Her DNA came from a man who had the perfect adaptive sequence, a man who could survive anything. Guess whose it was? Ethan's heart pounded. Nope, yes, Kyle said. It was yours. Ethan stepped back, his mind spinning. That's impossible. Kyle's tone was cold. You donated samples when you worked in my lab. Remember? We said it was for the medical database, but we used them to create Lyra. You are her origin. Ethan's throat went dry. You're saying she's part of me? Kale nodded. Your DNA, your resilience, your neural map. That's why she trusts you. Her body recognizes you as the source. Ethan sat down slowly, his mind blank. The girl he found in the dump, the one he saved, wasn't just a stranger. She carried his blood, his patterns. His creation? His child. Later, when Lyra woke, she found him sitting silently, staring at the wall. Ethan? She asked softly. What's wrong? He didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, You were made from me. Her silver eyes widened. What? Your DNA, your code. It came from mine. That's why they want us both. Lyra stepped back, shaking her head. That can't be true. He looked at her sadly. I wish it wasn't. She sank to her knees, her voice trembling. Then what am I? A copy? A weapon? Your mistake? Ethan knelt beside her, his hands on her shoulders. No, you're not a mistake. You're the best thing I've ever done. She looked into his eyes, tears glimmering like liquid silver. You don't mean that. He nodded firmly. I do. You're not a weapon, Lyra, you're alive. And I'll protect that life even if the whole galaxy burns. Above ground, the Dominion commander was preparing his next move. He stood in his ship, staring at the glowing map of Nyxora's underground tunnels. Sir, his officer said, our scanners picked up strange readings. The biosynthetic signal is merging with a human's. The commander smiled coldly. Excellent. That means the connection has begun. Once it completes, she'll become unstoppable. And the human? He'll die, the commander said. Because humans were never meant to merge with gods. Meanwhile, Ethan packed what little gear they had left. We can't stay here, he said. They'll find this place soon. Lyra stood quietly, still processing what she'd learned. Ethan, if I'm part of you, does that mean I'm human? He stopped, looking at her with gentle eyes. You're more human than most people I've met. She smiled faintly, a tear slipping down her cheek. Then maybe there's hope for me, he nodded. There's always hope. They left the tunnels and reached the outskirts of the city. The sky above was filled with red lights, the Dominion ships, scanning for them like predators. Ethan guided her through the ruins of old Nyxora, a forgotten district full of broken buildings and abandoned machines. We'll hide here, he said. No one comes this far anymore. They entered an old library, its walls covered in dust. Books lay scattered across the floor, relics from before the machines took over. Lyra touched one gently, amazed. Paper, she whispered. It's soft, Ethan smiled. That's where stories used to live. Stories? Yeah, he said quietly. Humans used to write them. To remember who they were. She looked at him, her eyes bright. Then maybe one day someone will write ours. As night fell, they sat near a broken window watching the stars. Lyra leaned her head against his shoulder. If I was made from you, she whispered, maybe that's why I feel connected, like I've known you forever. Ethan hesitated, then said softly, maybe it's more than that. What do you mean? He looked at her with a sad smile. Maybe you're what I was always meant to protect. The one good thing left in this universe. Her fingers brushed his hand. Ethan, do you ever think I could live like a normal person? He looked out at the dark city. I think you could live free, and that's better than normal. But just as she smiled, the air around them vibrated. A deep pulsing hum filled the room. Ethan stood quickly. What is that? Lyra's body began to glow again. Stronger this time, uncontrollable. Her eyes widened in terror. It's happening again, I can't stop it. Ethan grabbed her shoulders. Stay with me, Lyra. Focus, her voice broke. They're activating me. The ground shook. Energy burst from her body, breaking the walls. Ethan held her tight as blue light filled the room. And then, through the light, came the commander's voice. The merge has begun. Soon she'll become what we built her to be. And when she does, no one will survive. The old library shook like it was alive. Dust fell from the ceiling as blue light exploded from Lyra's body. wrapping the room in a blinding storm of energy. The air turned electric and the smell of ozone filled Ethan's lungs. "Lyra," Ethan shouted over the roar. "You have to control it." Her voice cracked through the chaos. "I can't. They're inside my head!" She fell to her knees, her hands clutching her temples. The symbols on her arms burned bright, pulsing in rhythm with a low hum that came from somewhere deep beneath the city. Ethan could almost feel the vibration in his bones, like the world itself was reacting to her. He ran to her, grabbing her shoulders. "Listen to me. You're stronger than them." Tears streamed down her glowing face. "They're turning me into the weapon." Ethan pulled her close, ignoring the heat radiating from her body. "Then we'll fight it together." The light grew stronger. For a second, everything went white. When Ethan opened his eyes, the world had changed. The library was gone. They were standing in a strange, endless field of blue light. The sky was black, filled with floating geometric shapes that moved like living circuits. Lyra stood a few feet away, her hair glowing, her eyes completely silver. She looked like a goddess made of energy, but her face was filled with pain. "Where are we?" Ethan asked, stepping toward her. "In the merge," she whispered. "This is the space inside me. The place where my human and machine parts meet." Ethan looked around, amazed and terrified. "You brought me here?" "I didn't mean to," she said, her voice trembling. "When my system activated, it pulled your neural signature in too. Because we're connected by code. And by blood." He took a step closer. "Then maybe I can help you from here." Before she could answer, the sky split open. A tall figure descended, metallic, faceless, wrapped in red energy. Its voice echoed through the strange world. "Unit 17. You were built to obey." Lyra's face went pale. "That's them, the control core." Ethan clenched his fists. "So this is the thing trying to take over your mind?" The core's voice boomed. "Human interference detected. Terminate host protocol." The ground cracked beneath Ethan's feet and red spikes shot up like claws. He jumped back, pulling Lyra with him. "Run!" she yelled. They sprinted across the glowing field as the core's voice thundered again. "You cannot run from your own creation." Ethan fired his plasma pistol, but the energy dissolved in the air. The core laughed, its voice cold and mechanical. "Your weapons are meaningless here." Lyra stopped suddenly, turning to face it. "Then I'll use mine." Her hands glowed with blue light and energy burst from her palms, clashing against the red waves. Sparks filled the air as the two powers collided, shaking the world around them. Ethan shielded his eyes. "Lyra, stop. You'll burn yourself out." She gritted her teeth. "If I don't fight, it wins." The core raised its hand, sending a wave of red lightning toward her. Ethan threw himself in front of her, taking the hit. The pain was like fire through his veins, but he didn't move. Lyra screamed, "No!" Her energy exploded again, this time brighter than before. The core staggered back, parts of its metallic shell breaking apart. Ethan collapsed, smoke rising from his jacket. Lyra knelt beside him, panic in her eyes. "Ethan, why would you do that?" He managed a weak smile. "Because that's what humans do. We protect the people we care about." Her hand trembled as she touched his cheek. "You'll die if you stay here." "Then get us out," he whispered. "You're the only one who can." She closed her eyes, her whole body glowing. The field began to ripple, the red shapes fading. But before the world could collapse, the core's voice returned, weaker but still menacing. "You cannot erase me, child. I am your purpose." Lyra's eyes opened, glowing brighter than ever. "Then I'll make my own purpose," she screamed, releasing every ounce of power she had left. The world shattered into light. When Ethan woke again, he was back in the library. The ceiling was cracked open, smoke rising from the walls. Lyra lay beside him, unconscious but breathing. Her glow was gone now, replaced by soft blue veins that pulsed gently. He reached out, brushing her hair back. "You did it," he whispered. "You beat it." But a voice came from behind him. "Did she really?" Ethan turned sharply, raising his weapon. Standing at the doorway was the Dominion commander, flanked by 2 armored soldiers. His silver uniform gleamed under the broken lights. "So this is the famous Ethan Ward," the commander said with a smirk. "The man who raised our lost creation." Ethan aimed his gun. "Stay back." The commander didn't flinch. "Do you even know what she is now?" "That merge changed her. She's not the same girl you saved." "She's Lyra," Ethan growled. "And she's human enough." The commander chuckled. "You're wrong. She's evolving faster than we expected. Soon she'll surpass both of us." He glanced at Lyra's unconscious form. You see, she's not just made from your DNA. She carries something else too. A code buried deep inside her core. A failsafe. When it activates, she'll destroy everything within 1,000 miles. Ethan's grip tightened on the blaster. You're lying, the commander smiled. You'll see for yourself when she wakes up. Lyra stirred, her eyes fluttering open. But something was wrong. Her pupils flickered between blue and red. Her voice was faint but cold. Ethan, move away. He shook his head. No, you're okay. She clutched her chest, pain flashing across her face. No, I'm not. They left something inside me. A command. Ethan dropped to his knees beside her. Then we'll remove it. I'll fix it. Her voice broke. You can't fix this. The commander raised his hand. She's right. The countdown has begun. Lyra gasped, light spilling from her skin. Ethan, you have to leave. I'm not leaving you, he shouted. The light grew stronger, the ground trembling. Lyra screamed, her power spiraling out of control again. Ethan grabbed her hand tightly. You're not a weapon, he yelled. You're Lyra. You're my daughter. You're human.
Fight it!
Her eyes locked on his, and for 1 second the red light vanished. A tear fell down her cheek. Ethan, he smiled through the tears. That's it. Stay with me. But the commander pressed a button on his wrist device. The room exploded in light. When the smoke cleared, the commander stood on the edge of the destroyed building, staring at the crater below. His officer approached carefully. Sir, the explosion, did it destroy them both? The commander looked down at the glowing pit. No, he said quietly. Something survived. At the center of the crater, a faint blue glow pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. And from that light, a figure began to rise. For a long time, there was only silence. The Dominion commander stood at the edge of the smoking crater, staring at the faint blue glow that refused to die. The air was thick with dust, and pieces of melted glass shimmered on the ground like frozen lightning. Nothing could have lived through that, the officer whispered. The commander didn't answer. He stepped closer, eyes narrowing. The glow in the pit began to rise, slow and steady. Then a shape emerged from the smoke, a figure walking through the fire. It was Lyra, but she was no longer the fragile girl from the scrap dump. Her skin shone like liquid crystal. Her hair floated weightlessly, and symbols of light ran along her arms and neck like living veins. Her eyes burned pure white. The commander smiled coldly. Perfect. The merge is complete. Down in the crater, Ethan stirred among the debris. His body ached, his lungs burned, but he was alive. Somehow the blast hadn't killed him. He pushed himself up, blinking through the dust. When his vision cleared, he froze. Lyra, he whispered. She turned toward him slowly. Her expression was calm but empty. The warmth that once lived in her eyes was gone. She looked at him like he was a memory. Ethan Ward, she said, her voice echoing, layered with static. Directive engaged. Human contact forbidden. He shook his head. No, it's me. It's Ethan. She tilted her head slightly as if processing his words. You are identified as genetic origin. Termination denied. Observation permitted. He took a careful step forward. Lyra, listen to me. You're not a program. You're not their weapon. She blinked. Emotion detected error. The commander's voice boomed from above. Beautiful, isn't she? The first hybrid to survive the merge. She's beyond human now, beyond anything. Ethan looked up, rage burning in his chest. You did this to her. The commander smirked. You should be proud. She's your legacy. Lyra raised her hand. Energy gathered around her palm, forming a sphere of blinding light. Ethan felt the air crackle, his hair lifting from static. Target acquired, she said. Ethan's heart pounded. Lyra, stop, please. But the beam fired. It struck the ground beside him, carving a deep trench of molten rock. The shockwave threw him backward. He hit the ground hard, pain flaring through his ribs. Still, he didn't move away. He crawled toward her instead. Lyra, his voice shook. You saved me once. Remember, in the tunnels, you said you didn't want to be a weapon? Her hand trembled. The light flickered. Memory. Conflict, she whispered. Emotion interfering. Then hold on to it. He shouted. Hold on to who you are. The commander landed beside her, his armor glowing red. Finish it, Unit 17. Destroy the human. She turned to him, her eyes unreadable. He is my origin. He's your weakness, the commander snapped. Eliminate him. For a long moment, Lyra didn't move. Then her hand rose again, but this time it wasn't pointed at Ethan. It was pointed at the commander. "You hurt him," she said softly. "You hurt the one who gave me life." The commander's eyes widened. "No." Before he could finish, a beam of blue light pierced his armor. The explosion threw him across the crater, his body vanishing in smoke. Ethan shielded his face from the blast. When he looked again, the commander was gone, and Lyra stood in the center of the crater, glowing brighter than ever, her body shaking violently. "Lyra," he shouted. "Stop, you'll burn yourself out." She looked down at her hands, terrified. "I can't control it anymore. The power, it's too much." Ethan ran to her, grabbing her shoulders despite the burning heat. "Look at me. You can control it. You're human enough to choose." Tears of light fell down her cheeks. "But if I don't release it, it'll destroy everything." "Then let me help you," he said. "We'll find another way." She stared at him, trembling. "Why do you keep risking yourself for me?" "Because," he said softly, "that's what fathers do." Her eyes widened, then softened. "You really think of me as your daughter?" "I don't think," he whispered. "I know." Something broke inside her then, something deep and human. The glow around her body shifted from violent white to soft blue. The air calmed, the ground stopped shaking. But above them, the Dominion fleet appeared again. Dozens of ships descended through the clouds, their cannons glowing. A voice came over the loudspeaker. "Surrender the asset or we will annihilate the entire sector." Ethan looked up, eyes blazing. "They'll never stop." Lyra turned toward the sky. "Then I will." She floated upward, light pouring from her hands like waterfalls of energy. The ships opened fire, but every beam that touched her dissolved into sparks. She looked almost angelic, half human, half star. "Lyra, wait," Ethan called. "You can't fight all of them." She looked down at him, smiling faintly. "Maybe not, but I can protect you." Her voice was calm, steady. "Tell them what I was, not what they made me." "Lyra, I love you, Ethan," she said, tears of light streaming from her eyes. "Thank you for giving me a name." Then she turned upward and spread her arms wide. The sky exploded with color. A massive wave of blue energy swept across the horizon, silencing the guns, freezing the ships in place. The light expanded until it swallowed everything. The city, the sky, the stars. And then, silence. When the light faded, the fleet was gone. Only fragments drifted in the air like ash. Ethan stood alone in the ruins, staring at the empty sky. "Lyra," he whispered. "Where are you?" He fell to his knees, tears mixing with the dust on his face. For a long time there was no sound, just the quiet hum of the wind through the broken streets. Then, faintly, a voice echoed in his mind. "I'm here, Ethan, I'm not gone. I'm inside the light." He looked up, eyes wide. "Lyra?" The voice was soft but warm. "I stopped them. But my body couldn't survive. I became part of the energy grid. I can see everything now. The whole world." Ethan smiled sadly. "You always wanted to be free." "And I am," she said gently. "But so are you. Don't hide anymore. Live, Ethan." Tears fell as he whispered, "I'll never forget you." "I know." Her voice faded like a song in the wind. "Because I'll always be watching." Far above, the city's night sky flickered with new light. Tiny blue auroras dancing where the ships had vanished. The people of Nyxora looked up, whispering stories about the ghost of light who saved them. But only Ethan knew the truth. The ghost wasn't a legend, she was his daughter. She was Lyra, and somewhere within the shining sky she whispered back to him, "For humans like you, Ethan, I became more than what they made me. I became alive." 10 years had passed since the night the sky burned blue. The people of Nyxora still spoke about it, the storm of light that swallowed the Dominion fleet and saved the city from destruction. No one knew what really happened that night. Some called it a miracle, others a weapon gone wrong. But for Ethan Ward, it was neither. It was the night he lost and found his daughter. He now lived on the edge of the city where metal met the desert. His workshop was smaller than before, but peaceful. Plants grew between the cracks in the steel floor, and the air smelled of rain from the purifier vents he built himself. Every morning, he sat on the porch with a mug of tea, staring at the horizon. The sky still shimmered faintly blue when the sun rose, a reminder of her. He had gotten older. His hair was gray, his hands rough, but his eyes were steady, calm. He had kept his promise to Lyra. He lived. And every night when the world went quiet, he still talked to her. Not with his voice, but with his heart. "Hey, kid," he would whisper. "It's another long day. I fixed an old droid again. You'd have liked it. It reminded me of the first bot you tried to fix. The one you broke twice before it worked. Sometimes, when the wind blew through the broken towers, he swore he could hear a voice answering. It wasn't broken, Ethan, it just needed time." He would smile softly, the same way he did when she was alive. "Yeah," he'd whisper back. "Just needed time." After the fall of the Dominion, the world changed. Without their control, the galaxy began to rebuild itself. The laws that once banned biosynthetics were rewritten. People started to see that life, all life, was more than metal or flesh. And it all began with one name whispered through the colonies: Lyra. The girl who became light. Statues of her appeared in cities. Paintings showed her standing between stars, arms wide open, saving the world that once feared her. To most, she was a myth, but Ethan knew better. She wasn't a goddess. She was a girl who just wanted to be free. One evening, as Ethan was repairing an old satellite dish, a small ship landed outside his workshop. The engines hummed softly, sleek and clean, not military. Civilian. The door opened and a young woman stepped out. She wore a blue cloak and carried a metal case. Her eyes were bright silver. Ethan froze, his tools falling from his hands. "Lyra?" The woman smiled faintly. "No, but I think you knew her." He stepped closer, his heart pounding. "Who are you?" She placed the metal case on the ground. "My name's Arya. I'm part of the Lyra Foundation. We study the energy field your daughter created." Ethan's throat tightened. "My daughter?" Arya nodded. "Yes, her energy still circles this planet. It's alive, conscious almost. Sometimes it responds to signals. We think she's still out there somewhere in the light." Ethan felt tears in his eyes. "You can feel her too?" Arya smiled softly. "She led me here." She opened the case. Inside was a glowing blue crystal pulsing like a heartbeat. "This formed in the upper atmosphere," she said. "Our sensors detected a familiar energy signature." Ethan reached out. "Lyra's?" "Yes," Arya whispered. "It's her energy, pure and stable, like a piece of her condensed into matter." The crystal flickered as his fingers brushed it. The workshop filled with soft blue light. And then a voice, faint but clear, echoed through the air. "Ethan." Ethan froze, his breath catching. "Lyra?" "You kept your promise," her voice said, warm and gentle. "You lived." His eyes filled with tears. "I tried, but I never stopped missing you." "You weren't supposed to," she said with a soft laugh. "Love means remembering." The light shimmered brighter, wrapping around his hands. Arya stepped back, watching in awe. "I can't stay long," the voice continued. "The energy that holds me is fading, but I had to see you one more time." Ethan smiled through the tears. "You never have to say goodbye." "Maybe not," she whispered. "Because as long as people remember what it means to be human, I'll always be here." The light began to fade and the crystal dimmed. Ethan's fingers tightened around it. "Lyra, wait, tell them my story," her voice said softly. "Tell them humans can be kind, even to those the world calls monsters." And then, the voice was gone. The light vanished. Ethan stood in silence, his heart heavy but full. He looked down at the crystal glowing faintly in his hand. It wasn't just light. It was life, her message. Weeks passed and Ethan began to write. He wrote about the girl from the scrap dump, about her fear, her courage, her heart, about how she taught him what it truly meant to be human. He titled the book Lyra, the Child of Light. It spread across the colonies like a spark in the dark. People read it, cried, and changed. It became more than a story when it became a movement, a symbol of hope for every being, human or not, who ever felt unwanted or broken. Years later, as Ethan grew old, the world he lived in began to heal. Humans and synthetics lived side by side. The city rebuilt not just its towers, but its heart. One night, when the stars were bright and the air was calm, Ethan sat on his porch again, holding the same blue crystal. He looked up at the sky and smiled. "I kept your promise, kid," he whispered. "The world's better now." The sky shimmered faintly, the same soft blue glow that once saved the planet. And for a brief, shining second, the light formed the shape of a girl's face, smiling down at him. "I know, Ethan," her voice echoed in the wind. "You finally fixed the world." He closed his eyes, peace washing over him. And when the morning came, the porch was empty, but above the city, the blue aurora burned brighter than ever, alive, eternal. The people of Nexora say that sometimes when the wind blows through the ruins, you can still hear her voice whispering through the metal. Humans build. Humans love. Humans fight. That's why they will never fade. And in the light of every dawn, the world remembers the name that changed everything. Lyra, the girl who became light.